It's big, it's round, and yes, it did jiggle when I fell from heaven. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking about booty. But we're not just talking about any booty, we're talking about pirates' booty. Now, I'm not an expert in shekelnomics or anything, but I know my way around some booty. Thanks to the addition of the War Sales DLC in Bannerlord, we can now obtain that valuable booty in two different ways, both by land or by sea. And I don't know about you guys, but I prefer having my booty over a nice ocean breeze, sipping a margarita, and preventing scurvy. So that's exactly what we'll be doing in this video. And I would really love to just end things and start the video here. However, because I don't want my YouTube video being associated with the search term booty, I'm gonna say what's actually going to happen in this video. Today, we'll be attempting to reach 1 million denars as a pirate in Mount & Blade Bannerlord using the awesome Navy ship battles and new Viking faction introduced a part of the War Sales DLC. If my booty rigmarole makes you laugh at any point, make sure to drop a like and comment down below booty to ruin my YouTube search optimization. Now that that's out of the way, it's time to get back to the booty puns. So if we're on a mission to achieve as much hiney as we can, we're gonna need a way to haul all that booty. Now, before the release of the War Sales DLC, I used to make my money by stalking big-ass burly men in alleyways and offering them strange sexual favors when they least expect it. But recently, I found it's actually much more profitable to beat them to death and offer my services to the elderly instead. Think of me as the Batman of this world, bringing justice to every common criminal with a swift death. And I want to be very clear, the service I'm offering to these elderly men is my sword, my long sword, not sexual favors. Now, I know what you're thinking, Frostburns. Why are you working with a dementia-ridden old man? Well, let me answer your question with another question. Have you heard of a sugar mama? Historically, sugar mamas, or sugar papas, are known to associate with younger partners and give them money for spending time with them. This old man is rich, and he has something I need to start my journey of becoming a millionaire, a pirate ship. So I worked to become the perfect sugar baby of said old man. The old man took me under his wing. He showed me how to operate a ship. I protected him as we fought wars with other ship-bearing sea hounds. And we even rode off into the distance together while being shot and stabbed at by jealous men. Our relationship was truly beautiful. But this video is about becoming a millionaire, not my homosexual relationship with an old man. So the second the old man decided to give me his ship, I ran off with that shit and never looked back. Now right now, I know you're thinking to yourself, wow, I came to this video to see some dude play War Sales and all I've learned about is booty, homosexuality, and the history of sugar babies. This guy must be crazy. Well, I want to let you know that you are right. I am crazy, but there's a method behind my madness. You see, by offering up my Viking longsword to the old man, I now have achieved the most profitable source of income in Bannerlord, a pirate ship. Prior to this DLC, trading for money absolutely sucked because it would take weeks or even months just to move your goods between the North and the South factions. But with my new ship, the Booty Hauler 9000, I can now haul and sell more booty than the transatlantic slave trade. Let me show you how it's done. Up until this point, we'd made a small amount of money just by borrowing Grandpa's ship to trade after putting sleeping pills in his prune juice. But now, we don't need the juice to be successful. We are the juice. So the first thing I did is hire an associate who's willing to be my right-hand man in this trading scheme. She didn't have crazy stats or anything, but her name was Keela the She-Wolf, and she wore a wolf hat on her head, and that's fucking awesome. What else do you need to hear? Now that I have a faithful companion in a ship, it was time to start making money. So I took my faithful Viking, Leif Erikson, and began the biggest trade operation in all of Calderia. The first thing we needed to do was establish a trading contact with the Norse Empire. For now, we'll mainly use the city of Halvik. After talking to this merchant, Horga Dorgan Florgan, we were able to buy a crap ton of goods that are exclusive to the Nords: whale oil and walrus tusk. The thing is, just across the sea back in the Western Empire, these items go for double, if not triple the original price. Now, I don't know how to calculate the return on investment for sugar daddies, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize this is way more profitable than slutting yourself out to old men. I did this trading back and forth pretty much until I got my first 50,000 denars with just a few days. Once I did, I was able to buy a large enough army to scare off any bandits looking to attack my caravan. Now, if you're wondering why I just don't attack the bandits and sell their loot for even more profit, it's because the Nord troops are fucking dog shit on land. And I don't say that lightly. For some reason, these guys can succeed so well walking on a mobile waterbed, but the second they get on land, they suck. Which I thought wouldn't really be a problem since I spent so much time at sea, but as I traded more and more, I ran into an issue. I was trading so many exotic goods back and forth between the Norse and Western Empire that instead of profiting off these inflated goods, I was now equalizing their economy. Now, like I said, I'm not an expert in shekelnomics, but if I learned anything from Mr. Krabs, I know less money in my pocket is a bad thing. So it was time to start investing in other forms of income using the money I had already acquired. Now at this point, I had essentially no skill in combat, but a pretty decent skill with ships and trading. So I expanded my trade by horse to the southern and eastern factions. I began doing tournaments in any of the cities that had them. At first, these tournaments were extremely difficult, not only because my skill was low, but because I'm dogshit at Bannerlord combat. But eventually, I gained more powerful armor and leveled up my skills. I got to the point where winning a battle was as easy as kicking some poor peasant in the chest with my iron boot and walking away. It even leveled up my aura farming she-wolf to the point where we could rig the tournaments, resulting in me getting gear no matter if I won or lost the fight. After rigging several tournaments and trading more and more, I made enough cash to buy an olive press. Now, I don't know if you know this, but owning an olive press is a pretty fucking big deal. This olive press was single-handedly going to skyrocket my money and turn me into a millionaire. Let me explain. By owning a monopoly on the olive oil franchise in Bannerlord, I will not only control the mass production of olives, but I will control the world.
Bring out the olive!
Let me ask you a question. What do Irish people love more than anything? If you answered beer, you were close, my friend. But the real answer is potatoes. We all know that the Irish potato famine almost single-handedly wiped out the entirety of Ireland. But what do you think these Irishmen were cooking their potatoes in? That's right, olive oil. This means that without their precious olive oil, the Britannia clan will be crippled and vulnerable to attacks, leading to a big war. And war means profits. So the first thing I began doing is buying all the olives from the neighboring Britannia villages and their neighbors. After doing so, I'd bring them back to my olive press in Jackoff land. Because my trade skill allowed me to buy these goods for cheap, this resulted in the olive press bringing in a ton of daily cash. On top of this cash, the profits of my olive press increased the prosperity of Jackoff land, which increased the overall strength of the Western Empire. Once the Western Empire was strong enough due to their extreme olive oil buffs, and the Britannia clan began dying without their precious olive oil, they were forced to go to war with one another. Now, the CIA should be banging down my door right now, because I am an expert at crippling communities. Once the Western Empire went to war with the Britannias, I joined their forces as a mercenary. This not only guaranteed the safety of my olive press, but it also allowed me to profit off the war with the Britannias. On top of that, I was able to buy some of the Western Empire's precious land troops to mix them in with my sea pirates. After spending some time proving myself to the Western Empire by fighting against Britannian sieges and slaying countless men on the battlefield, I was able to gain a lot of influence in over 250,000 denars by offering up my longsword. At this point, I was able to join the Western Empire as a vassal under King Dickhart. While I was a mercenary, Dickhart and his vassals had taken the majority of the Britannian cities, and it was time for me to undertake my biggest project yet, the sieging of the last city of the Britannians. Now, I had no clue how to siege a city. Leif Erikson was a traitor at heart, so I hired several men who could do the whole commanding an army thing for me. I waited outside the city of Monruth and slowly began calling upon the forces of King Dickhart to assist me in this great battle. After some time, we were able to gather over 1,000 men, ready to die for some guy who started a world war, all because of olives. We posted up outside the city and began building our siege camp. Our catapults spent hours tearing down the enemy defenses, while our sieges and rams stood by. Thankfully, our plan to cripple the nation by stripping them of their olive oil was working. This was a battle of attrition, because the enemy had zero food and was slowly dying without their crisp potatoes. Once the first wall was cracked, it was time to begin our invasion. The Battle of Potatoes had finally begun. I rode valiantly on my horse, as my 1,000 troops followed my every move. The trebuchets launched their big fiery balls and smacked against the walls of the city. Despite their Trojan-grade protection, with enough wear and tear, even the mightiest of defenses can be penetrated with one well-placed thrust. And thrust we did. As I scanned the walls, I ran into a hole created by the trebuchets and sent my men rushing in. As shield crashed against shield, I rushed behind them to administer powerful backshots that hit so hard even the neighboring shield brethren could feel it gyrating through his spine. Soon, the forces were all destroyed, and I squeezed as many troops as I could through the penetrated wall. As we infiltrated the side wall, the battering rams forced through the front door, resulting in a pincer attack between the front and side of the potato men's forces. I cleaved as many as I could with my two-handed axe, absolutely destroying the soldiers to help out my men. It wasn't long before the enemy defenses were fully compromised. The Britannians began retreating back to their castle, but I ordered the command, "No Britannian," and we slaughtered them despite them fleeing the battle. At this point, we raided the main castle and made our way to the top of the castle. Here, I Spartan kicked several men to their death, and I kinda had a lot of fun doing it. Can I kick him? This is Sparta! This is Sparta! Come on. Die, bitch, die! Just this battle alone caused me to gain over 100 points with two-handed weapons. And on top of that, some great leadership skills. After the city fell, there was nothing left of the Britannians. Ladies and gentlemen, the war on olives has been won. After the war, it was rightfully decided that I would gain control of the city of Bannerlord. After gaining control of the city and finding one of the last existing Britannian governors to run over it, I was now making a crap ton of income from my settlement. I invested the money into more olive workshops and several caravans until I reached a whopping 500,000 denars. Thanks to the war on olives, we are now halfway to our goal of becoming a millionaire. And now that we're at the halfway mark, it's time for a word from our sponsors. Have you ever wanted to commit mass genocide while acquiring the palate of a Roman soldier? Well, I have too. That's why I use Leif's olive oil. It's not only great for your food, but by buying Leif's olive oil, you are not only leveling up your taste buds, but you can live happily, knowing you are funding the genocide of an entire empire. Don't have the money to buy? No problem. By liking this video, we will personally send each and every person one of Leif's special brand olive oil. Because I don't want to get sued, I do have to state that I don't really have sponsors, and this is one big fat joke. But make sure to like the video if you've enjoyed up to this point. Now let's get back to our regularly scheduled genocide. Now, ladies and gentlemen, up until this point, I have failed you as a booty connoisseur. A wise booty philosopher once said, "Now, I tell you what, I likes you and I want you. Now we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way. The choice is yours." Up until this point, I've been doing things the easy way. And the reason I say that is because I've been embarking on a quest for pirates' booty without partaking in the most mainstream way of obtaining said booty, and that would be naval warfare. Now, the reason I had done this is because one heavy ship in Bannerlord can cost up to 120,000 denars, but now I have enough money and enough troops to purchase said ships, so there isn't any reason for me to no longer partake in this plentiful fest of pirates' booty. So the first thing I did is head to a nearby port. Here, I purchased 2 of the best possible ships I could afford for about 200,000 denars. I then bought a ton of upgrades, including rams that can deal devastating damage in order to sink ships, fire ballistas to damage their crew and sails, and increased hull durability to withstand the most powerful of storms. After spending almost over 300,000 denars on ships, we now have 2 extremely powerful navy ships that are ready to do some damage. Now, this does put a dent in our immediate cash flow, but in the long term, this is going to bring us a ton of money, and I'm about to show you why. After the war with the Britannias ended, the Western Empire turned their sights towards my home faction, the Norse. However, my alliance is to the money, not any faction. So as long as the Western Empire keeps flowing the gold, I'll kill as many Norse Vikings as I need to. So because the Norse were now our new enemies, this meant their sea caravans were fair game. So we brought our ships out to the open seas and began attacking the enemy caravans. I headed straight for one of the enemy ships while volleying them with as many ballistas as I could, and with one hard hit to the hull, the ship sank. In the meantime, my troops boarded the nearby Nord ships as I provided them cover fire. Within a matter of time, the battle was ours. After raiding several more caravans and sea raiders, I was able to pretty quickly make the money we spent by selling their goods and selling the pirate ships they left behind. At this point, I was making over 15k a day between trading and my olive empire. It wasn't gonna be long before I'd be a millionaire. But despite my pockets being filled, there was a feeling deep down inside of me that yearned for more. I realized there was only one thing that I loved more than just receiving the booty. It was the act of taking the booty. I was willing to risk it all to have one big battle that put everything on the line. My quest for booty was not over. So I enacted my plan to have one final battle to the death with a navy of 500 men versus the strongest navy in the game, the Norse. We began sieging one of their capital cities by destroying all their defenses and demolishing their walls. But the true plan was not to destroy and conquer the city. The real plan was to create a blockade that would starve the citizens, forcing the Norse to send in their biggest naval army. And that's exactly what they did. An army of 1,247 pirates, along with 39 ships, came rushing in against my 476 troops with 15 ships. It is now time for the Battle of the Booty. My ships had taken their formation. Today, we knew many would never see their families again in order to partake in the one true purpose of life, to take the booty. As my commanders took their positions, the ships rushed off into the battle against the enemy ships. Despite there being only around 30 people on my ship, we pushed with a force of 1,000 Spartan soldiers. The other ships followed suit as they slowly creaked behind us. As we got within range, it was time to start hurling the fire ballistas. The ships began catching on fire, and the men began to burn. Within a matter of seconds, We found our small ship clustered between the force of 100 enemy soldiers. The enemies wasted no time to board the ship. I killed as many as I could, but as my money grew, I had slowly traded my Vikings away for men who fared better on the land, and the enemy was starting to absolutely rack up the kills. The Vikings surrounded me, and I ended up just barely escaping with my life by abandoning my ship. But by the time I resurfaced, my men had been massacred. I was the last soldier in my squadron, and like a wounded dog, I shouted a war cry. We put our life on the line for the booty! Everything we do is for the booty! But despite my war cry, it wasn't enough. I was slain by a Nord soldier who bested me in combat. My booty had been taken. I had been violated, used, and without their leader, the battle for booty soon turned into a massacre that no one would ever forget. I barely escaped with my life, but in the midst of battle, I was able to take enough booties to reach a total of 1 million denars. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now a pirate millionaire. But although I reached my goal of reaching 1 million denars, my quest for booty wasn't over yet. I had one more booty to take. The man who was responsible for seizing my booty in the last battle, the Norse King. And just like that, our journey to become a pirate king millionaire in Bannerlord is now complete. The king of the Nords is now dead, and I will take over as the one true pirate king of the Norse Empire. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to drop a like so the algorithm will push it out to even more people. And if you want to join the family, make sure to subscribe, and while you're over there, check out my Kenshi video where I overthrow humanity with robots by extracting human brains out their buttholes. For those watching around the holidays, I want to say happy holidays, I love you guys, and I'll see you in the new year.